new season.
You're listening to Arkansas Preps Weekly on Natural State Sports, your top source for the biggest news in high school sports across Arkansas.
Here we go.
What is up, everybody? Thanks for joining us on episode 55 of Arkansas Preps Weekly here on the Natural State Sports Network. My name's Kyle Sutherland, and I want to remind you first and foremost, if you have not already, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and also hit that notification bell so you are notified anytime we release an episode or go live. Most in those cases, mostly for a game, but that's for a different day. So as we continue our hoops coverage with Basketball Coaches Weekly, we play on words to the podcast name right. We are going to be joined this week by first Conway girls head coach Ashley Hutchcraft, and then following her, we will be joined by Bergman boys coach Bo Martin. Both of these teams are both currently the top-rated teams in their classifications. Of course, Conway girls in 6A and then the Bergman boys in 3A. They're also the defending runners-up in their respective classifications as well. So looking to get a state championship. Of course, the Conway Lady Wampus Cats were the 2023 state champions, trying to hoist that trophy once again, while the Bergman boys, after two runner-up finishes, they are going to also be hunting another shot at Hot Springs here in the next month or so. So excited to have both of these coaches on. Again, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, also Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any of the audio platforms. We are there. So without further ado, we'll get right into the conversation first with Conway Lady Wampus Cats head coach Ashley Hutchcraft. We're now joined by Conway Lady Wampus Cats head coach Ashley Hutchcraft. And, Coach, I know that your program is no stranger to successful seasons, successful starts, however you want to put it. But y'all are just absolutely rolling right now. Only one loss on the season to a very good out-of-state opponent. And before we get into the schedule a little bit, I got to ask you, does it ever get old? I mean, I know winning never does get old, but just the same old stuff every single year. I mean, you guys, again, just continue to roll.
You know, it doesn't get old. The pressure of just trying to repeat success, it's tiring for sure. But each year, presents its own kind of, obstacles especially when you're dealing with, teenage girls and just life in general. So, in that aspect, that doesn't get old because it's something new every year. Like this year, you take, for example, we felt really good going into our season. I thought it was probably going to be one of the best teams we've ever had. And then our leading rebounder goes out in July and, blows out her knee. And, so that presented a new challenge in itself.
And we'll talk about the players here just a second, because I definitely want to get into them. But I also got to ask you, this past, December, at the end of the month, or the end of the first half of the season, y'all went into the Sandra Meadows Classic. I mean, you played there just about every single year. The past 4 years, I think it was, you got a runner-up finish. And for those that are not, until this past December, of course, but I don't think that those if you don't pay attention to that tournament, I mean, it is one of the premier ones put on, all kinds of Texas teams, all kinds of different out-of-state teams that come. You guys got over the hump and got the championship this year. And while there was still plenty to play for, still get into conference play, talk about what that was like to get over that hump and take that back to Arkansas with you.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It's a great tournament. It's 32 teams. And the thing about the tournament that's so unique is that if you make it, pretty far, you're going to play 2 games in a day, twice. So you play 5 games in 3 days. And so the challenging part is it really challenges you physically, your team physically. And so in the championship day, in the semifinals are at 9:00 in the morning. And then the championship's at 7:30 at night. So you check out of the hotel room at lunch after that 9:00 game. And it's just a grind, and you kind of see where your team's mentality is. Can they handle those things? And that's why we keep going back. We can't match that anywhere, in any other tournament. And then of course, last year when we played in the finals, we couldn't do anything physically. Like we were exhausted. And Duncanville just drummed us. Like we couldn't make a layup. Like we physically couldn't run up and down the court. That's how bad it was. And we kind of took that into our off season and preseason. Like we're never going to get, like, we got manhandled. And they were a premier team, but still, if we played them on a regular day matchup, it would have been a great basketball game. But that fifth game in 3 days, it destroyed us. And so again, that was one of our goals. Like, we're never going to get dominated like that physically. Not so much the score. Like, we just couldn't. Their defense was amazing. And then, of course, we didn't play them this year. We played someone else in the finals. But it's also really hard to beat Duncanville at Duncanville. But it was great. It was great for our team because we were in question without Lex. And I say we, the staff, the players, Emery Bohan and Samaya Jordan, we were in question about how we could compete, 5 games in 3 days with the talent level that we had and the depth.
No question. I mean, the Boswell team that you beat. Now, Duncanville, I believe they're like 2-time defending state champ. They ended last year nationally ranked in the top 15 pretty much across the board. This Boswell team that you beat, if I'm not mistaken, they were a semifinal team last 6A Division II. I mean, the highest classification, just like you. So, I mean, that's extremely impressive. And talking about that tournament, I mean, your teams have gotten to play on some really big stages too. Well, I think it was 2 years ago. Y'all played in Washington, D.C. on ESPN. I remember watching that. I was extremely proud to have an Arkansas team there. And just talk about it. Of course, I know that that says a lot about the program that you and your coaches run, but also the kids that you have. So being able to play on that national level, talk about what that was like.
Yeah, Boswell, amazing team. I think right now they're number one. I think they have 2 or 3 losses, but they were number one in Texas. They were ranked 17th in the country. And I think for us, with who we play, the big issue is size. So when we look at a team and even in Arkansas, when we're looking at teams, we're concerned about size and length because we are very small. And, so our concept is always like, how are we going to defend the size? And I thought we just did a really good job defending Boswell. The score was very low. We didn't score a lot of points. They didn't score a lot of points. But we just made big plays. We also played them, after we had went into, I think it was 3 overtimes against, one of the top teams in Georgia, and we're able to beat them. So, I think the thing about, playing these tournaments that are, national exposure, you got to be willing to go. Some people aren't willing to go. We went Thanksgiving back to Duncanville. We went to the Hoot Fest, which is mainly a boys event, but they insert a few big time girls games. And that's where we got our loss to Monterey when we played Chavez, who's the number 1 girl in the country. Just being willing to go. We had to leave Thanksgiving Day, go to Duncanville, had to leave Christmas, or we couldn't leave Christmas Day. So we had to leave at 4 a.m. and play an 11:30 game in Dallas. So, it's just, I feel like our staff, we just want to put ourselves in that situation. And if you're going to be nationally ranked, you have to do that. You have to find those opportunities and just be willing to go. And our kids love it. They love to get on a charter bus and they love to stay the night. Every year they're like, where are we going? When are we going to stay the night? That's their biggest thing. Like, we got one more hotel trip. They're so excited about going to Springdale, not because it's the playoffs, but because they get a hotel stay. So, it's just, that's just a big part of our program. We want to be able to do that throughout the year and, make it the big time where we're at.
I wanted to ask you too. You touched just a second ago about how your
Mm.
smaller team, of course, you guys make up for that with incredible athleticism,
Yeah.
fundamentals, the whole 9 yards. But
Mhm.
if I'm not mistaken, the last true big that you had consistently put was Savannah Scott in
Yeah. Yeah.
2023, I guess is when she with Chloe.
Mhm.
Talk about how you had to, especially last year, of course, made it to
Mhm.
the final
Mhm.
again, and how y'all had to adjust as a coaching staff with not having somebody like Savannah
Yeah.
down there.
Honestly, when we got Savannah as a freshman, that was pretty much the first true big we've ever had since I've been at Conway. So we really had to adjust to Savannah, and which we should have. I mean, she's 6'4", big time
Yeah.
basketball player. So it was an adjustment for us as a coaching staff to go, okay, we have Chloe. And honestly, Chloe never liked to play extremely fast either. She was more reserved um, so we had to really adjust to having Savannah. And then when Savannah graduated and Chloe, and we lost those two, but we lost Camille Brown, who's at Three Rivers, who's going to be playing D1 next year. We lost Caden Beckwith, who's at UCA. So we lost 4 starters off of that 2023 team. And I was kind of excited because I saw who we had, and I'm like, okay, we kind of get to go back to the way I like to coach, the way I like to play, how I grew up playing and have been coaching, for the longest, that up tempo style. And truly, me mentally as a coach, I kind of had to get back to that mindset of, trying to do these little things to create pace and, to deal with not having a lot of size. So it's been, again, it's that just new challenge, new team. It'll be different next year, I'm sure. It's been good. It's been nice.
And talking about the high profile players,
Mhm.
Chloe's at Stanford. I guess Savannah's
Mhm.
at Auburn, right? So
She
you've
is,
got,
yeah.
and those two were, two P5 to now
Mhm.
two P4 players on the same team. And, you've again had plenty of those, as far as next level talented players.
Mhm.
But, there's one thing about, and we've mentioned pressure already. It's
Mhm.
one thing to have a pressure here and there, but it's pretty much consistently. Of course, y'all are always at the top of the statewide rankings, 1, 2, 3. Of course, this year you're nationally ranked. You have been before. How do you make sure that your kids channel that pressure the right way when they have this kind of spotlight on them?
Yeah, that's I'll be honest. I mean, that's just the challenge every day. It's a challenge for me mentally. Um, because like in 2022 when we lost to Central and we shouldn't have, we were dealing with we were nationally ranked then. We were dealing with that, and we were playing our best basketball in December. When we were in Duncanville, I just thought, dang, we're really good right now, and we were peaking too soon. But when you're at the top, it's hard to go, we'll just take our licks right now and we'll be fine in the playoffs, because you want to be at the top. You want to keep that top spot. And so when we went into 2023, we kind of put the brakes on. We went to no camps over the summer. Our kids, they played all summer long, and, Chloe and them are playing just, big time summer basketball. Then when they get to us, they're exhausted. So I thought, we're just going to put the brakes on. We're just going to focus on our skills. We're going to focus on the weight room. And we just committed to, okay, if we take some licks, it's okay. And I told them that, we really focused on, okay, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So we go to DC, we get beat, we got beat by Central at Central. We lost some games, and I think we were playing our best basketball in late February. This year, I feel like our team's a little bit different. We kind of got a little bit of dog in us. We're feisty. Emery and Trinaya and Samaya, they're just a different breed than Chloe and Savannah and Camille and Caden. Their mindset's totally different. So we've kind of embraced it. Like, we have the target on our back, and we just talk about it more. I don't know if it'll help or not, but I think players are so different how they handle things. So again, that's the biggest challenge about about being on top and it just being consistent. You don't want to lose. You don't, we know with being an Arkansas team and you look at those national rankings, we're one of the very few public schools in that national ranking. Though most of those are private schools or prep schools. If we lose one game, we're not nationally ranked anymore. And we got to be okay with that. That's hard. That's a hard concept. But I think we just realized, okay, we've been nationally ranked before and we got our butts beat in the quarterfinals of the state playoffs. We don't care about that. We want to win a ring, and just trying to keep that mindset fresh.
And this current senior class that you have, I know you've had, some players that have played since their freshman year, but these kids have played a lot of minutes for. As you mentioned, Alexis Cox, unfortunately, hasn't played this year because she tore her ACL. Olivia Cox, her sister, still there. I'm proud of myself, by the way, because I always mix up twins like 9 times out of 10.
And they look a lot alike. So
yeah, right. So I'm batting 1,000 right now. But Emory Bohannon, of course, covered her brother in football that I believe is still now at Tulane. Trania Wilson's been a great sophomore for you. Freshman Kylie John, especially if you're playing as a freshman for the Conway Lady Wampus Cats, you know you got some skills. So I mentioned some names there, but just kind of talk about how their individual games and how they contribute to the team, and also if I missed anybody, make sure and
absolutely.
point them out.
Trania is one that last year we lost her at the end of the first round of the conference. She broke her wrist. And so we lost her for the second half of the season, and she was a starter. I mean, her and Samaya were our starting point guards. And so we had to adjust again. And so Olivia came in and she was our sixth man. So she became our starter. And so we had to adjust kind of midway through the year last year, which was definitely a challenge, because Trania can do a lot of great things with the ball in her hand. And so her first came back was actually the state championship game, which we didn't expect her to be, much of anything, but she gave us a little bit of minutes. So having her back has been great. She's a sophomore now. She's stronger. She's more mature, just used to the level of basketball that we want to play. I think, I mean, when we're looking at our team, Trania, she's just our spark. She's our energy. She is unbelievable defensively. She can get to the rim. I feel like her future is really bright as a basketball player. I think her shot's developing. But we really, really missed her last year. So having her back and better has been great. And I think that's been one reason why we've been able to deal with not having Lex, is because T's better and she's back. And so that's been a plus. And then Liv, Liv's a great player. She gets overlooked by Lex a lot. Obviously twins. Lex is a big time scorer, rebounder, but between her and Emory right now, they have over 40 something charges. I mean, Liv is our size. She is so gritty. She's going to guard the biggest girl on the team. If we're playing somebody man, and she just does the things that we need. And then Kylie, Kylie is a freshman. She does not look like a freshman. When we're in the weight room, she's the strongest player that we have. She is just a freak of an athlete. She looks like a grown woman out there. And so physically, she doesn't look like a freshman. And then I think having those seniors around her have really helped. She has had some freshman moments, but I'm good with that. We expect those things. But I think just moving her up as a freshman, we can only expect better and better, the next few years from her. And then, of course, Samaya and Emory, just what they've meant to our program. Emory is a competitor. Samaya is a silent assassin. She drives us crazy because Samaya waits to the very last second till we need her. And then she'll have like 15 points in 4 minutes. And we're like, Samaya, quit waiting. We don't have time for you to wait this year. But they've all been great. Then we have two players that come off the bench. Mariah Wilson, who's a sophomore, who we moved up last year as a freshman, who gives us great minutes. She's long, athletic. Dakira Carter, She's a Division I soccer player, but she plays basketball in her spare time. But when she comes in, she's the smallest player on the floor, but she's the best rebounder. She is our spark. And so they've been great. The whole team's been good. We have 9 seniors, and sadly, when you have that many seniors, we're excited about getting to the playoffs, but imagine, not having Emory and them out there that's a hard concept for me and our coaching staff. So we're going to try to make the best of it, here at the end.
Circling back to the schedule, I know a lot of times, regardless of the sport, in non-conference, you typically play those games to really prepare you for the postseason. Mm-hmm. You guys have to prepare for the 6A Central Conference, right, which has been a bloodbath for, long time, but particularly the last 2 seasons, those Final 4 teams have been. Now, I know that, it's Cabot's down this year. They lost that 24 class, but still, you guys, Central, North Little Rock, you actually had the luxury of playing both Central. Y'all are North Little Rock that played. I guess y'all played North Little Rock and Central in one week.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
ended up well for you, but I'll tell you, you and Daryl Fimple, of course, everybody knows, what you guys have done throughout your coaching career. To me, Marlon Williams is right up there with the best coaches in the state. But just talk about the depth of that conference, particularly the top half that has just been such a gauntlet the last few years.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, a lot of people don't understand is, like, the last 2 years, it has been us 4. So you play them twice in the season, and then when we won it in 2023, we have to play we have to play North Little Rock for the 3rd time in the finals. That's so challenging. Beating a team 3 times, a good team 3 times. I mean, it's that knows everything about you, all of your tendencies. That's, no matter how good you are, that is a challenge. And then you take last year. Not only do we play Central in the finals, but we play an unbelievable Cabot team that miraculously we come out with a win. So I feel like us, we're excited that this year is totally different than the last 2 years, because I feel like there are probably 8 teams that could win the state championship. There's not a team that just is set apart. I know we're nationally ranked and I know we're number 1, but we're nationally ranked because we put ourselves in those game situations. If some of those teams would have done the same thing, they would be nationally ranked too. I think talent-wise, Springdale Harbor, Northside, the West, Fayetteville, my goodness, I think Fayetteville is probably the most talented team. If they put it together at the right time, I think it's anybody's game. North Little Rock, I know they beat Central. They played us an amazing game. They can win it. Central can win it again. It's just a year of there's just not one team that I feel like is just leaps and bounds better. I think literally there could be 8 teams that win the state championship in girls basketball in 6A this year.
And as we wrap up here, I know one thing that means a lot to you is probably being able to stay so close to home. You get to coach at a high profile program that's nationally known, and you're right down the road from Guy where you grew up. And I know you also got at the beginning of the season a great honor of having it, which I love, number 54, by the way. It's very uncommon in basketball, and that was actually what my number was as well in sports.
Cool, that's rare.
It's very rare, but I know that meant a lot to you. Of course, you're a 3-time state champion there. You and Whitney Zachariason from CAC that I went to school with, y'all are one of very few that I know that's won 3 state tournament MVPs. But you got to do it with your dad, John, and I'm going off of memory here, but your dad, John Hutchcraft, probably the best to ever do it in Arkansas. 21 trips to the state championship, 11 championships, over 2,100 games. Okay, I did that off the I should have, but so he obviously had a legendary career in his own right. Actually coached in a McDonald's All-American game. So just kind of recapping all that. Obviously, Guy basketball is massive to the Hutchcraft family. So just talk about what that meant to you 20 years later. Not trying to age you, but about 20 years later,
it's crazy.
Getting your jersey retired.
It's great. I feel like through my career, like everything that I've tried to do at Conway or even at Conway Christian, it's just been kind of just everything that I've learned from Dad. I can remember my dad took a team to New York City and played Christ the King during Christmas. They were a nationally ranked team, and he took a bunch of girls from Guy Perkins that had never been on a plane. And I think I was about 10 or 11, and we went to New York City and Christ the King. That's where I think Shamika Holsclaw maybe played, and they had 11 players, and 10 of them were going to Division I school. They were the premier basketball team in the 90s. And I can just remember Thanksgiving, we would be in Longview, Texas, and we would that's just what Dad wanted to do. He wanted to make, this little bitty town in Arkansas nationally known. I think I've just kind of taken that mentality into my career. And, I feel like it's just been obviously a blessing to be able to grow up in that lifestyle. And, Guy Perkins, I'm actually from Conway. We've always lived in Conway. I know that's weird, but my mother worked at UCA. And so we would always drive to Guy. It's about 20 miles from Conway. So, I am from Conway, but my heart's in Guy Perkins. And, my dad was 54. My sister was 54. My dad's in the Hall of Fame at UCA. He was a great player there. And, so I love that 54. It was always odd because I was a point guard, and, having that big number just was unique. So it was great. It was great for the retirement of the jersey, and all that. It's hard for me to talk about because, I don't see myself in that light anymore, getting a little bit older, but it brings back a lot of memories. And, goodness, I hope Guy Perkins gets back to that. I'm not sure it will. It's, I know that's going to be a challenge, but, I was just blessed to have, to truly just have Dad as a coach. I mean, he was amazing. Just everything that he did for me, for his players. They love him like a father, and I just wanted to do the same thing for anyone that I coached. It's not always good. It doesn't always end good. There are players that I'm not going to make happy, or parents, but at the end of the day, when most of them want to come back to Conway and they want to still be a part of our program, and we truly treat it like a family, I feel like that's how you win in life, is with a family type atmosphere. And that's what we try to do at Conway. As long as I'm coaching, that's going to be the way that I do it. I don't know how to do it any other way. And I just feel like I've learned that all from Dad. And, so it's been great. And it was an honor to have the jersey retired.
I know they always say that the coaching never leaves your blood, and
Yeah.
I've never met your dad, but just watching him behind the bench at state championship games, he gets pretty fiery.
He does.
That last year,
he used to. I tell this story all the time. I got hired at Conway. I guess I started at Conway Christian when I was about 22, and I was there 2 years. So I was really young. When I was 22, I had quite a few seniors, and they were 18. And I look at them now, and we're very close in age. I'm like, this is really weird that, I'm 39 and they're 35 or 36 years old. That's crazy to think about. But so when I got hired at Conway, I think I was just about to turn 25. They took a risk on me. I was a very young basketball coach. And I look back on the things that I used to do, and I'm like, whoo, why did they hire me? But I was fortunate to have some really good mentors there. Coach Taylor was amazing to me. But Dad, he used to sit behind the bench, and he would take notes. And I'd be like, oh, God, he's taking notes. Like, why is he taking notes? And then I would, the game would be over. I wouldn't hear from him. And then I'd get out to my vehicle, and I would have those notes on my windshield wiper. And it was so funny because I loved those notes. They drove me crazy, but looking back now, like, he was just trying to make sure that everything was covered. It would be to the detail of, like, number 22 is looking behind the bench at her parents. It was so detailed. And so, yes, it has not left his blood. We still have those conversations. I don't get the notes anymore. So, I've graduated from no notes, but, If I have a question or, you need some advice on something, of course, he's right there. And there's not much better advice I could get from him than from him.
Yeah, no question. Well, I mean, hey, I would imagine his love language is probably through basketball. I mean, no
For
question
sure.
about
For
it.
sure.
So,
yeah.
well, Coach, great conversation. Really
Thank you.
appreciate you joining. I know it's a crazy time. Have y'all, and I have been asking too, have y'all been able to stay pretty? I know, of course, you had the early season injury, but it's that time of year for sickness and trying to stay clear of injuries. Have y'all been able to dodge all those? Knock on wood for the most part.
Knock on wood. So far, so good. We obviously we have those just little ailments this time of year. I will say, this year, one thing that I feel like has really set us apart, and I got to give this guy credit anytime I talk to somebody. We hired a strength and conditioning coach, and I know a lot of schools have that already. Conway hasn't had that. So I've been over strength and conditioning, and we've used Jasper Johnson in the preseason. He comes in and does a boot camp with us. He's a trainer in town. He was LaShonta Johnson's husband, who was a coach for me forever, and he's amazing. We still use him for our boot camp. Sets us apart for sure. And then we hired Chris Jordan as a strength and conditioning coach, who was, Coach James's strength and conditioning coach at Bryant. He was at UAPB. He was at Arkansas State. And we have just bought into him and his system. And he's been amazing. And I feel like it has truly been a game changer for our team. I feel like when we play some teams and, you take the Boswell team or the Georgia team, you look at Central and, how big they are and athletic they are compared to us. He has helped us, we are physically dominant, when we're out there on the floor. And so I got to give him a little shout out. He's, I got to give Buck a shout out, because if it wasn't for Buck James, we wouldn't have had him.
Buck,
So,
if there's anything I know about Buck James,
if he wants it, he's going to get it. And so we lift Sunday, we lift Monday, we play Tuesday, we lift Wednesday, we lift Thursday, we lift 5 days a week. And some people will be like, that's crazy.
That's great. Yeah.
Conway football, they lift on game days. We're not going to do that, but it has just been a complete game changer, not just for us. I mean, I feel like our volleyball team, they just won a state championship, and I feel like it was a game changer for them. They look totally different than they have in the years past. And so, that's the perk of being at a big school, is you're able to do that. So, I got to give that guy a little shout out. So thank you.
If there's anything I know about Buck James, he loves the weight room.
Yes.
I think every time I talk to him, somehow or one way or another, it gets brought up.
It goes back to the weight room. So I'm going to say that's a huge part of us this year. And so I think that's helped us in injury prevention as well. They're so sore from the weight room. I don't know if they know anything else is hurt, but that has been great for us. So, the flu obviously is going around. Goodness, we got about a week until nobody can get the flu. And then, because I think it's really bad once you get it. So I'm just knocking on wood that we kind of get through that. The kids laugh at me. I get in there with my Lysol can and I'm spraying down everything. And
yep, that's me. Right. Yeah.
So we do what we can, but you can only control so much stuff. So
yeah, that's right. Especially with so many people around each other, no question. So
yeah.
All right, Coach. We'll let you get out of here. Enjoy the few days off. Not that you don't practice or obviously lift weights, but at least until game day again when you play Little Rock Central. So
I appreciate you, Kyle. I appreciate everything you do for high school sports and especially girls basketball. Sometimes we're kind of the low man on the totem pole a little bit, but you guys make us feel important and special. And I feel like that's what sets Arkansas, athletics apart from other states, is y'all do it all. And so I know that takes a lot of energy and effort. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Well, that certainly means a lot. Really appreciate you saying that. So, well, Coach, again, good luck the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon. Really appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
All right. Stay tuned. We've got Bergman boys coach Bo Martin up next. All right, we are now joined by Bergman boys coach Bo Martin. And coach, once again, your guys are just clicking on all cylinders. You came in probably for most people, I would say, were the 3A favorite after two back-to-back runner-up finishes. But you guys have really just lived up to the expectations. You're unbeaten against in-state competition. You're unbeaten in 2025. So just talk about what it's been like so far. I know it's kind of become something you're used to, but I know it never gets old.
Absolutely. It's been a really enjoyable year. I've got a really great mix of kids, of seniors and underclassmen, and they've just been phenomenal all year long. We've had some tight games, some tough games, and just keep pushing them to keep getting better and not let our guard down. And when you start off the year with a bullseye on your back, you're getting everybody's best shot. And man, that's hard for 16, 17-year-old kids to do, to bring it not in and not out. And I just couldn't be prouder of these guys and the maturity that they've shown to just keep showing up and playing well, not in and not out.
So you just finished up the regular season. I think that was a non-conference win over Rosebud, if I remember correctly. Now you've got the 3A2 district tournament between your conference foes, and you guys being the number one seed there, won the regular season conference championship. Of course, you're already clinched a spot in the regional tournament, but you've got the winner on Friday of Cave City. Of course, we're recording on a Monday morning here, and you've got the winner of Cave City Mountain Home Mountain View. I swear I do that all the time. The girls half of y'all's conference, a really good team is going to get left out when you look at the Valley Springs, Bergman, Salem's, Melbourne, one more in there that I'm missing. But you look at the top half in particular, the boys' side here. I know at the first matchup that y'all had against Melbourne, it was a 1 or 2 point game. The other night, you guys took care of business. But really, just you mentioned a second ago how hard it is, especially on teenage kids when you've got all these expectations on you. But especially to get through your non-conference slate the way that you did, and then to get through the regular season conference slate undefeated. Talk about that.
Yeah, we really the last few years have just put a really big investment on just really enjoying the journey. We don't. If you ask my kids, they haven't. I know that they know because of social media and all that stuff. But we haven't talked about rankings one time. We don't talk about state championship. We don't talk about any of that stuff. Really, we just focus on the journey. And I think what I've found the last few years is that just really it takes a lot of pressure off of your kids when they're not just putting pressure of expectations. Our only expectation every single game is just to be a little bit better than what we were before. And what I've found is the kids have just found a lot more joy in practice every day, and the road trips, and just having fun, playing with their friends, being able to play in front of our fans and their families. And when you focus on that stuff instead of we've got to be undefeated, or we've got to be district champions or regional champions, what I've found is man, the winning and the results take care of themselves. When we just focus on, getting a little bit better each day and focusing on the little things instead of, the big picture, I guess you would say.
It's funny you bring that up because you think about this time of year, district regional tournaments. How many times do we see where a top seed or a team that's really hot, they might get upset in the first round of district. They might get upset in the first round of regional. And you think about both of the boys and girls programs at Bergman that have been to all these state finals over the past few years. And I think that when you are that good, and whether it's Bergman or whichever school in whatever sport, it's really common for us to start talking about state tournaments and getting on another deep run. But people forget you've got it now. Like I said, you guys are already in line for the regional tournament, but that's something that I think is maybe just your casual fan might overlook. Because I know before I was in media and before I was an athlete, stuff like that, I know that for me, it was just kind of basic human instinct to think of that. So talking about how your kids kind of know the expectations, know to just take it one day at a time, is it almost player-led at this point to just not get too far ahead of things?
100%. We talk about all the time that player-led teams are better than coach-led teams, and again, that's not to minimize my responsibility and my role. But the deal is my role as a leader is to develop them into leaders. And when I've got this is just a phenomenal senior class that I've got. So my seniors, they've finished their season in Hot Springs the last 2 years, and so they're really, really mature. We from the beginning of the year, we've because the deal is I've got some really, really good seniors, but we've graduated some really, really good seniors, some really, really good players the last couple of years. And so their roles have had to change and their maturity has had to elevate and grow. And I just couldn't be prouder of these guys of just stepping up, filling voids that were left and players that graduated. And, but yeah, man, it's just you rely so much on your kids. You can't follow them around every minute of every day of making sure that they get in bed when they're supposed to, and making sure you can't babysit them in the locker room of every minute of every day. And you just rely on them to be mature and do what they're supposed to do. And these guys have just been amazing all year long doing that for me.
And I know that, you had a very quality non-conference schedule, get you prepared for not just conference play, but of course the postseason play. But, the reality is every conference has the teams that are really good, some that are okay, some that are not so great. In certain games where you guys were able to pull away, has that really helped you stay? Because I know that there has been quite a few where, the scores have been lopsided. Have you been able to get more guys in, and has that helped you stay healthy as far as being able to kind of spread the minutes out a little bit?
Oh yeah, 100%. Every year when I'm making out our non-conference schedule, the first thing that I do is I look at the program from the state tournament, and look at who are teams that I think are going to be, likely teams that are going to be in the postseason, whether it's regional tournament or state tournament. And I try to get those teams on our schedule every year, just to give us, a measuring stick. We want our flaws to be exposed as early in the year as possible, so that gives us time to be able to work on them, gives us an opportunity to throw some guys in some games and give them opportunities, figuring out your plan rotation. This year has been extremely, you talk about, we've had some close games and some lopsided games, but, we had, we lost a key starter as soon as we started conference play that went down with a broken arm. And he was a huge part of what we do there in the middle of the season. And not just, what he brought to the table individually, but so much of what he did affected our style of play. And so we had to completely, call an audible on, how we were running our half-court offense, our playing rotations, and all of that stuff. And the kids, they're just unbelievable, man. I mean, they're just unbelievable in how that they've been able to adjust. And, now we've been able to get him back just here in the last couple of weeks, and trying to get him work back into the flow of things and get going. But yeah, it's super important for us to play a tough non-conference schedule. We've done that the last several years, and I think that's paid huge dividends for us in postseason.
You've praised your seniors a couple of different times already, and I wanted to point them out. You think of guys like Zion Foltz, Sawyer Schubert, of course, Dylan Friend. All those guys have played in the past two state finals. Dylan Friend, he's been unconscious. Especially, I think he shot like over 50% from three in that 2023 game against Manila. And talking about what those guys mean to the team this year, and of course what they did as underclassmen, just mentioned their leadership, and of course, I don't want to leave anybody out, so I mentioned three seniors right there. Kind of talk about them as well as any other the key contributors that you have this season.
Man, Kyle, I could be on here all day bragging on those guys and talking about those kids. I mean, words just can't express how much those guys mean to me and what they've meant to our program and our community. I mean, they are truly, truly, truly unicorns. And just you won't find any more no ego, no selfishness, team first, just hard work. Yes, sir. Tell me what I need to do. I mean, they're just incredible, and it's a testament. You brought up Dylan and Zion and Sawyer, and there's so many other guys that we're leaning on this year. But Dylan and Zion and Sawyer are able to do what they've done as a result of the culture that's in place here. That was a precedent that was set with the guys that came before them. I tell the story all the time. The first year that we made it to the state championship, it was the first year in 70 years that Bergman boys had played. First time in 70 years that they had played for a state championship. And the year before that, I had a guy named Walker Patton, was a junior, and he averaged over 26 points a game. He averaged over 30 for like half of the year that year. And then at the end of the year, our junior year, so going into Walker's senior year, now Zion and Sawyer and Dylan, those guys were going to be sophomores. And I knew that we were going to have a lot of talent around Walker, more so than what he did probably the year before. And I came to him and I sat him down and said, "Hey, listen, I know you're a stud and you're unbelievable. You won't find a more unselfish kid than what Walker was." But I sat him down and said, "Hey, I think that we're going to have a better shot to make a run if you're averaging more like 20 or 21 next year as opposed to 26 to 30. And, most kids would say, "Hey, I averaged 26 last year and this is going to be my senior year and I'm wanting to play college basketball and all this. And now you're coming to me and asking me to take a few less shots." Most kids in today's society would have, scoffed at that and, probably went somewhere else. But he just said, "Hey, whatever I need to do." And having really good players with attitudes like that, that's what paved the way for Dylan to come in as a sophomore and knock down 8 threes in the state championship game. And I could go on and on about guys like Caden Ponder and Bryson Bauer and so many guys that I've had in our program over the last several years that were just team first guys. And these seniors just learn from them. And I hope that our underclassmen are continuing to watch and learn from guys like Dylan and Zion and Sawyer, because they're just unbelievable teammates. So that's what I'm most proud of is the culture that these guys have created of just putting our team first, and just whatever you ask them to do, if it's coming off the bench, if it's to score 20 or if it's to score 6, it's just, "Yes, sir," whatever we need to do, and they do it.
You mentioned in that talk right there about how today's society, about how it's just kind of, in a lot of ways, and it's very accurate, things don't go one way and you might go somewhere else. Well, also another common trend that's very unfortunate is if you get to a state championship and you come up short, basically, unless you win a state championship, then it's almost considered a failure. At least if you look on Twitter, if you look on Facebook. But when you guys think about the way that the past 2 seasons have ended, obviously there's so many teams that would trade places with you from the way that they finished. But do you look at it more so as, okay, we got a taste of it 2 years in a row, we've still got some of these guys back, we can do this and we can finish the job, maybe more so than 2 redemption tours?
Yeah. Both of those things are true at the same time. On one hand, getting, as a player, I played for my dad, and it was always my father, Lionel Martin. He was extremely successful, and they made it to the state championship 2 different times, and they didn't win. And it was always my goal that I wanted to win a state championship for my dad. And so it's been my dream since the time I was a little kid, to win a state championship. And so it's to say that it would be a dream come true would be an understatement. But on the flip side of that, I've had people, all the time come up to me because we fell short, 2 years in a row. And, I say, hey, if you're coming to me to, as if I'm going to bellyache because we finished our season in Hot Springs, second place. There's so many better coaches than myself that have never had the privilege to be able to coach in that game, to be able to make it that far. And so, I would just be, we talk a lot about having an attitude of gratitude in our program, and we're just so blessed and so grateful to have had the opportunity to be there. But 100% being there and being that close, it fuels you and it makes you really, really hungry. And I know that the kids that have played in it and that have been in that game, that they're, praying that, that we get that opportunity again. But at the end of the day, man, like I said, it's just about finding joy in the journey. We've won a lot of trophies and banners and all that stuff since we've been here at Bergman. But the deal is, man, my trophies are, the bus rides and just being able to have the kids over to my house and doing the team camps with them, and the things that I've been able to do from a spiritual standpoint and at church and connecting with those guys. Those are the things that those are the trophies that don't go anywhere. Those are going to be with us forever. And so hopefully we get an opportunity to get back, but we're just taking it a day at a time and enjoying the process and the journey, and just continuing to grow these relationships and having a blast one day at a time.
Your teams in the past few years in particular have had a whole lot of success when you think about as far as they've gone and all that. The girls teams won 2 of the last 3 state championships in 3A, of course, in 22. They went unbeaten, 43-0 last year. Beats, what was it, Lamar, I guess, they beat Salem after Salem had won it in 2023. So obviously both the boys and the girls ultra successful. I know they support each other and everything. Do they compete with one another as well? Like, okay, we're going to get back this year, we're both going to win state. Is it kind of like a friendly competition between both teams?
No, I can speak for myself. Our girls program has just been second to none over the last several years, and there's nobody that is more proud of them and what they've accomplished than myself. And those girls are just, they're unbelievable. I've got to learn so much, and watching them, and Coach Alitzka, who's one of my good friends, was here for a decade and just had unbelievable success. And Coach Kelsey Robinson is doing a great job with them this year. And one of the things in our program is comparison is the thief of joy, and so we just try to celebrate each other, man. Our girls, their program is what they do, and our program is what we do. But it's not a competition of, we just, when they do good, we all do good. And when we do good, I know they're happy for us. And so we're pulling for them, just like they pull for us. But it makes for a really, really cool culture here when you've got just great kids that support each other. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun for our community for sure. The last several years, it's been a blast.
And I want to make sure that we talk about the community and the support, because I was going to tell you the most common question that I get when I'm doing a radio spot or talking basketball with somebody that's outside of North Central or Northwest Arkansas. The first question is, where is Bergman? I don't know. That's a very common question that you have probably heard. So for those that don't know, it's in Boone County. What are y'all, about 10 miles from Harrison, 10 miles northeast? I heard about that. So right on the Missouri line. And as we've talked about, ultra success between both the boys and the girls. But just talk about the way that this community, whether it's feeding the kids before games, traveling, just the support that they show throughout the year. Talk about what the community means to both teams.
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. I just had a parent A parent of a kid, just called me last week, and we were getting ready to go for our last road game, and was like, hey, I want to pay for you guys meals. And his kid doesn't play very much. It's not, and that's the type of parents and the type of people that we have here at Bergman. They've, I can't tell you how many games that we've went to, hour and a half, 2 hours away, and our fans are 2-1 to the home team. And that's you don't get that everywhere. And we've got great people here. They love basketball. They, they show up for our kids, like you said, whether it's our businesses in town. There's so many local small businesses that reach out to me every year and just say, hey, you just tell me what you need, and we've got you. And they do, just taking care of us, whether it's clothes or feeding us before games, any financial support that we need. And man, that's all I can tell you is I'm just extremely blessed to be where I'm at, and so grateful for our community and our parents and our fans for showing up for us and being there for the kids. They've been phenomenal.
I got one more here for you. So I don't talk to, of course, when I do the smaller schools, it's common to talk to coaches that don't have a football program. I know that y'all have just about every sport there but football, but it's definitely, Bergman's a basketball school. There's no question about it. So talk about just you start basketball season a little bit earlier, obviously, but is it pretty much just a year-round program? I know the kids, with how much success they've had, they certainly work at it year-round, but is that something that you do as far as weights and the training throughout the calendar year?
Yeah, it's definitely a balance that you have to have because, like you said, we start our season in October. We play a lot of games, and it's just an incredible time commitment that our kids make, and just their time and sacrifice that they make. And so, always, I think it's super important that when the season's over with, that they take a little bit of time off to rest their bodies, rest their minds, and all that stuff. And then we've got a lot of kids that play baseball and tennis and track and those things. And I think that's really, really important as well, that they can shift gears and go to a different sport that's maybe at a little different pace and different setting and circumstances. But yeah, man, it's all about balance. One of the best things that we've done here for the last 6 or 7 years. My pastor, Shannon Odell, he called me. I don't know how many years ago, and he's like, hey, I volunteer and I help with our youth group at the church, and he's like, hey, any of your kids that want to go to church camp, and we go to church camp at in Florida at the beach, and he's like, if they want to go, man, it's on me for free. And so we started, like every year, the majority of our team goes with us to church camp at the beach. We always pick at least one team camp a year where we just get a house and a cabin on the lake, and we obviously play team camp games for a couple of days, but we just take a day to, man, we play Xbox and PlayStation, and we go fishing and play ping pong and all that stuff. And so, yeah, they're working really hard year round, but I think it's super, super important that you still allow kids opportunities to be kids, to have fun, to have girlfriends, go to church camp, play other sports and do those types of things. Because if you don't allow them that, you can run them in the ground, and you can take the joy out of it and take the fun out of it. And I want my kids, just fired up and ready to go when it's time to start the season back up again. So it's about finding that balance of, man, we're going to work like crazy in the weight room when it's time to work, but we're going to play when it's time to play, and find time for that balance with family and fishing and all those other things that kids enjoy as well.
I lied. I got one more. So you said PlayStation, Xbox. What's your favorite game? Maybe one or two, your favorite that you play most.
Oh, well, no question. Now that college football is back, that's definitely.
We might be having basketball and baseball come back too. I think that's on the way. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm here for it. It makes for some really fun team gatherings when we get to play 2K and all that good stuff. But yeah, I love college football.
Yeah, the kids, man, that are in high school now, they probably remember NCAA football, but they don't remember the NCAA basketball with Melo on the cover. And then I used to win all kinds of national championships with Euler on the MVP baseball. So those are a ton of fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we've been talking with Bergman boys coach Bo Martin. Coach, I know it's crazy time of year. Really appreciate all you coaches that have been coming on this season. It's great to talk with you all about the incredible seasons that you're having. It's like I've mentioned throughout this episode, it's been a big time, really just a big last few years for the boys and girls, making it to Hot Springs so many times. So best of luck to you guys the rest of the way. And again, really enjoyed the conversation.
Hey, thanks a million, Kyle. And hey, you're a CAC guy, right? Is that right?
I am. Yes,
Absolutely.
I am.
Yeah, man. Last year, CAC got us in the championship, and that was a heartbreaker. But my guy, Matt Hall, who's one of my childhood best friends and one of the best guys in the business. So if I had to lose it to somebody, he would be one of them. That was just such the last 2 3A games, I mean, to me have been some of the better ones. I know that, it's, if you're just an average fan, those are the type of games that you look for, especially the 2023 game. I mean, that was one of the best, just going to overtime and all that. So yeah, I was certainly happy for my Mustangs. That was their first, the girls have won 4 championships. Right. Steve Quattlebaum recently just retired, but of course coached his last game the other night, but the boys, we've been to the Final Four a couple of different times. I know my junior year of high school we went, but it was definitely good to see them get one. So, but we'll definitely be watching to see if the Bergman Panthers get there again this year. I know, like we talked about, you guys are itching to do it. So, again, really appreciate it, and best of luck the rest of the way. I hope so. Hey, thanks so much, Kyle. Thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. Well, that'll do it for episode 55 of Arkansas Preps Weekly. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen, we are there. But until next week, my name's Kyle Sutherland. We'll catch you next time.